All righty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DCTV. Today, I'm fired up to welcome on the man, the myth, the legend, Peter Appel. Peter, welcome.
What's going on, man? Excited to be here.
We cannot wait to have you. I'm going to give a little rundown on you because your track record is incredibly impressive. For those unfamiliar, Peter is the co-founder and director of content strategy at justbaseball.com. Him and his team have amassed hundreds of thousands of followers across socials and really are widely considered one of the top media companies covering baseball in particular. Last year, they launched their Just Baseball Discord community on Dub Club. They're giving out plays. They're talking college baseball, minor league baseball, big league baseball, and even have like an area of the Discord dedicated to trading card enthusiasts. So they got it all going in there. They have one of the highest retention rates on the entirety of the platform, which is a very clear indicator that they're doing something right. So definitely want to check that out. A little later, we're going to be giving out something special for folks tuning in the form of a free trial to that community. Just to hit on like some of the betting related metrics, because we can talk baseball all day long, but a lot of people are here to learn more about you and your betting style and your approach. Peter just released a slate of futures. His track record on the futures front is incredibly impressive. Profited 16 units in 2024, profited 28.57 units in 2025 on those futures alone. And then since 2021, have profited over 100 units on just normal plays, 107.48. Peter keeps a very clean ledger on his P&L statements. So welcome on, Peter.
Thanks so much. Yeah, no, betting's been good. And I think it all revolves around, my projections because I make them before the season. And that's why the futures market has always been better for me, is that my projections over 162 games are more accurate than a day-by-day type of game slate, because we know that one game, there's a lot of variance in it, but over a long season. And that's why I really focus on not only college futures, but MLB futures and NFL futures during the NFL season. And then on a day-by-day basis, I'll normally give out anywhere from 1 to 4 plays in that unit total that you were listing off. I think it's important to note that I'm not throwing out 5-unit bombs every day. I think I've had a total of 15 3-unit plays over a 5-year stretch. Most typically, it's anywhere from a half unit up to 1.5 units. And it's a slow and steady race. I think at Just Baseball, we're not for the big fancy parlays. We're not giving out dinger lays. It's not about that. It's about the numbers. It's about baseball. And we steadily climb up. And at the end of the season, we normally see a nice profit in our hands. But this is a community where you're going to learn a ton about baseball, all the way from the 18-year-olds playing at a mid-major in college up to the best players in Major League Baseball and everything in between. You talk about cards, you talk about prospects, college baseball, and all the big league stuff. And then, we have our podcast and our website and our social media pages. It's baseball for everyone. That's the tagline for Just Baseball.
It's been incredible to see your growth. I was a follower of yours long before you guys joined Dub Club to launch your community, and just seeing the uptick in follower count across the board has been super exciting. I mean, you don't give yourself enough credit. You're very humble in terms of like really the titan that you are in the baseball media front. You had Walker Buehler as a recurring guest on your guys' show. Like that is, one of the most looked up to players in the entirety of the league. So congratulations on what you built.
Thank you, my friend. And I'm really proud about those, retention metrics, because, we've had plenty of meetings. I'm not the biggest marketer in the world. I'm not going to come on after I've won a couple in a row. I'm saying huge sale. Like, I'm just not that type of person. And I want to let the results speak for themselves. Right. And I think we've shown that through 5 years straight of being profitable at the end of the year, whether that be through college baseball, MLB, and the NFL. And I'm working on my 6th right now, and We're just going to keep doing it day by day, giving you the best analysis and the best picks I possibly can, because at the end of the day, this doesn't feel like a job for me. This is just exactly what I want to do. So I wake up early in the morning and I get to get after my favorite thing in the world, which is trying to predict the future.
You're going to have to change your name to just baseball and football, because
Yeah.
that's a little known thing about you is football may be your second best sport that you handicap. You've put together a couple great years, and in particular on the futures front.
Yeah, we were still able to be positive in the NFL season, but full transparency, and that's also what you're going to get from me. I think if, you can describe me any way you want, but you can't say I'm not honest. And I really, take that to heart. I went 0-6 on the Super Bowl. Just got destroyed. I was all over Patriots, everything. Looked like a total dunce in the Super Bowl. So that was a tough day for myself and the Discord clients. The good thing is we've been hot in college baseball, so we made a lot of that back. But that was one of the worst gambling days I've had in ever. I mean, that was terrible.
Well, let's look at the bright side. Like you said, 4-2 on college baseball thus far this year, all on dogs.
All dogs.
So very, very well done. I want to transition over to the MLB side of the house, given that this is our MLB season preview. Would love to hear kind of a quick 60-second recap from you on last season. What were the biggest takeaways, biggest surprises? Let's start there.
A couple of big takeaways off the top. I mean, watching Cal Raleigh hit 60 home runs was unbelievably impressive. It's one thing to hit 60 home runs. It's another thing to do it at the catching position, because a lot of front offices, they'll look at their catcher and they say, well, if you're stealing strikes, if you're blocking the ball well and you're throwing runners out, we don't really care how great you are offensively. I think Exhibit A would be Patrick Bailey, who is an all-world defender, and yet he's 20% below league average as a hitter. Right. But he's still a top 10 catcher because of how important it is to play defense at the catching position. You played, you know how important that is. But for Cal Raleigh to hit 60, incredible. Aaron Judge to continue to do what he's doing. I mean, he just put up a 205 WRC plus. You'd have to go back to Barry Bonds. You have to go back to Ted Williams. You have to go back to Josh Gibson in the Negro Leagues, Babe Ruth, to find seasons like that. And this was his third time doing it over the last 4 years. But the biggest surprise, the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Like, I think everybody, once we got to the playoffs, people thought to themselves, wow, the Blue Jays can really do it. But if we rewind the clock, their win total at the beginning of the season was 76.5. 76.5 win total going to Game 7 of the World Series. And now I had tons of futures tickets on the Dodgers to win the World Series. I think I had 5 units risked in order to win like 14 or 15 maybe. I was all over the Dodgers from the beginning of the season because they're by far the best team, right? Sometimes it's don't overthink it. You're giving me plus money with the Dodgers, I'm going to continually take it. And it gets down to a Game 7 scenario. And I am not a big hedger, but the Blue Jays were plus 130 in Game 7. And I thought, that's too much. This game should be even money. So I hedged. Ultimately, the Dodgers did win, but they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You remember, it was 5-4. Miggy Rowe hits that big home run, and then Will Smith hits the home run to lead. So that's one of those scenarios where I say to myself, all right, I did lose, right? I shouldn't have hedged in theory.
Yeah.
But my prediction for the game, plus 130 was crazy. The Blue Jays absolutely could have won that game, and everyone's crying the Dodgers are ruining baseball. The Blue Jays almost beat them with a 76.5 win total. And that's the beauty of baseball and why I love it so much.
I could not agree more. I could have guessed that you were going to go there as the biggest surprise and most outstanding performance. But speaking of the Dodgers, I want to transition over to this offseason. Obviously, they were getting a lot of attention for their acquisition of Kyle Tucker and him being one of the best players in baseball and one of the highest paid players in baseball. So I definitely want to chat through your thoughts on who had the best offseason, who had the worst offseason. And I imagine we'll get to the question of should there be a salary cap in baseball based off of the Dodgers offseason.
So the best offseason in terms of the team who added the most WAR, it's the Dodgers. When you add Kyle Tucker and you add Edwin Diaz being arguably the best closer in baseball, I'd probably take Mason Miller. And we're actually ranking starting pitchers and relievers coming up this week on my podcast, the Just Baseball Show. We went through every single position, and I have Mason Miller 1 and Edwin Diaz 2. But Edwin Diaz is a good bet to lead the league in saves. Right now, he's the favorite at about 4-1, and I actually see a little bit of value on that. Funny enough, the biggest value bet, I think, of the season, Dodgers to win the division. Because right now they're about minus 600. Again, do you want to lay 6-1 or lay 1-6, really? And wait 7 months to get your money back? Not particularly, but it could be a good parlay piece. Minus 600 implies like an 85% chance of winning the division. I have them at 96% chance of winning the division.
Oh my gosh.
An 11% edge there. So again, I'm probably not going to bet it, but again, if for all you parlayers out there, you can use it as a piece. But getting back to the question of best offseason, the Dodgers are as good as any team. Right now, my win total projections, I'm at 102. Next best team is at 90. So goes to show kind of the difference. But another sneaky great offseason, I think the Pittsburgh Pirates really, really did well here. Not great defensively when you're adding guys like Marcell Ozuna and Brandon Lau and Ryan O'Hearn. But their offense just needs to be about league average because this starting rotation led by Paul Skeens, you're going to get Jared Jones back. You already have Mitch Keller, but Bubba Chandler is a guy who I think is going to take a meteoric rise this year on the mound. And they have a couple other guys in the upper minors who can certainly help them on the pitching side. So this team is really going to pitch, and all they needed to do was get league average offense, and they could potentially be a playoff team. Mm-hmm. So I really like what the Pirates did, but if we're looking at the team that added the most WAR, that is unfortunately the Juggernauts, aka the Dodgers.
I'm still thinking about your Edwin Diaz most saves in the league angle. You figure they're going to win the most ball games. It's just a matter of if he's the one closing them out, and they're in positions to check saves off the box. Obviously, if they're blowing teams out, it's a different story. I would love to talk through some potential breakout stars. I feel like every time that we've chatted, whether it be in relationship to your business or doing a similar show to this, you've pretty much nailed your predictions. So I'm very curious to hear who you think will become a household name here pretty soon at the midway point of the season or by the World Series.
I got 2 names for you, both in the National League Central. Because, I think it's easy to pluck off some of the best young players on the best teams that a lot of people know about, but I want to stick in a division that not a lot of people pay attention to outside of fans of those teams. And number 1, I want to start with Chase Burns of the Cincinnati Reds. So I have 2 different philosophies when predicting breakouts for pitchers and breakouts for hitters. For pitchers, you don't have a lot of data to work with. But last year, something that really helped me was looking at strikeout minus walk, looking at stuff, even if it's in a short sample. And I think a good example of that was picking Garrett Crochet to be the strikeout leader last season, right at 11-1. And this was a guy who was traded from the White Sox to the Red Sox, but didn't have a lot of experience, right? He was pitched at University of Tennessee. He was moved into the bullpen for the White Sox. And then he makes about 140 innings in his first season, showcases some great stuff, and the Red Sox sign him and extend him for good reason. And I bet on him. The year before that was Tarek Skubal, right? And I've also been really high on Cole Reagans, another pitcher that I think could fit into that bucket with unbelievable stuff is Chase Burns. He was a top pick by the Reds. The problem is, I don't know how many innings the Reds are going to let him throw because he's still really young. They're probably going to limit him to 130 to 150 innings. That's why I want to bet Cy Young. I want to bet strikeout leader. But the problem is he going to have the amount of innings? But I think what he could do is put up a season similar to what Spencer Strider did in his rookie season. Remember when he threw 131 innings for the Braves, struck out 208 guys? That's the type of season I could potentially see from Chase Burns. He struck out nearly 14 per 9 which you
Wow.
just do not find in Major League Baseball unless you're looking at high-end elite relievers. He was doing that in a starting capacity. And I remember, as a Yankee fan, what he did to us in just a very short sample was striking out the side with ease, striking out great bats. So Chase Burns is absolutely a pitcher that I think, at least in fantasy leagues, or at least early on in the big league season, I don't think he'll be priced appropriately. So he's a guy I want to target at least early. Again, in September, they might start to limit his innings, but early on, that's a pitcher to target. Offensively, he's a freak. He's a freak of nature. And he's got a coach coming in by the name of Kevin Kiermaier, who's one of the best defensive center fielders of my lifetime. O'Neal Cruz of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I think O'Neal Cruz is an interesting case because in terms of pure talent, I could think of 20 guys in baseball with more talent than him. He can hit a ball 500 feet. He can run like a gazelle. He's got an arm that from center field where he can throw the ball in 100 miles an hour with ease. This guy is a freak of freaks, but he has a problem with focus, right? You see some plays in center field where I'm just thinking to myself, like I'm watching a Pirates game in May on a Wednesday, and it's a day game, and they're down 6-1, and I see you're checked out, dude.
Yeah.
You're checked out. We got to have you locked in, and that's another element of baseball and why this game is so hard. Is that a guy can have all the talent in the world, but are you mentally up here? Best quote in baseball history. Baseball is 90% mental and the other half is physical, from Yogi Berra. It's so true. But with a potentially more competitive Pirates team, can he lock in? Can he get a little bit better at center field? Can he elevate the baseball a little bit more with that power? Can he pull balls in the air? I think he can. And he put up a 3.6 WAR in 2024. Can he be a 5-win player in 2026? Breakout season with the Pirates breaking out as well? I think so. So those would be my two guys, O'Neal Cruz and Chase Burns.
You mentioned O'Neal hitting 500-foot home runs. 2022, the Bowie Bay Sox are playing the Altoona Curve. I'm at first base. We're in the 9th inning. O'Neal Cruz comes up. And as a minor league baseball player, extra innings are your biggest nightmare. And I think we're up by 4 runs. The bases are loaded. I'm thinking give him the Barry Bonds treatment and walk him on 4 pitches and move on to the next guy. Instead, closer hangs a change up, and he quite literally did hit it 500 feet. Disappeared into the night. That guy's a freak of nature. Do you think that the transition out to center field, I know he's logged time there, but him being able to settle in there, get more comfortable, can take pressure off of him elsewhere mentally?
Yes. I think sometimes he can take some of these things to the plate and you see some checked out ABs. But with more runway out there, and also I feel like he kind of knows this is his spot now because the Pirates, they have the number 1 prospect in baseball in Connor Griffin. And Connor Griffin, he's probably not going to start opening day. And the only reason for that is service time manipulation. They want the extra year in arbitration. So they're going to pull him up when they feel contractually it makes sense for them. It has nothing to do with talent. This guy is probably the best shortstop prospect since Bobby Witt Jr. So O'Neal Cruz transitioning from shortstop to center field, he knows he's not going to play shortstop for the Pirates for a long time. So knowing center field is likely his position, I think it'll make him feel more comfortable and just with more reps. I mean, you've played baseball, right? I don't know if you've ever switched positions too, but it just takes time, right? This game is really, really hard. The only guy who can adjust like that is Jackson Merrill, who's just a freak for the San Diego Padres, was a shortstop in the upper minors for a really long time, moves over to center field and is instantly a Gold Glove candidate. Fernando Tatis Jr., another example, moving from shortstop to right field. These guys are 1-of-1 players. Like, that's not normal. But O'Neal Cruz has the talent to do it. All he needs is more reps. He's going to get that this offseason. And I think he could turn into an above-average center field defensively because he's got as good of an arm as anybody. He's as fast as anybody.
And long of reach as anybody, too.
It's just about making the right reads, and that comes with time.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, it's yes, important to get the reps and actually improve at playing the position, but there's also this stress that comes with playing a new position, not feeling comfortable, thinking to yourself, "Don't hit the ball to me, don't hit the ball to me," just because you're not comfortable. It's not, you know, what you're used to. So you mentioned Chase Burns may not hit an innings limit or number that allows him to compete for some of the larger awards, but the goal with him is to target early in the year. Is that on strikeout totals? Is that on, team money line outcomes? What would be your ideal approach there?
Make your pick. I think his strikeout totals are going to be pretty high, even at the beginning of the season, and I think he can eclipse them, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing 6.5, 7.5 strikeout lines for him routinely, and he's also a guy who can get double-digit strikeouts in 4 or 5 innings. That's the type of elite stuff he has. Reds first 5, because their bullpen is not very good, so be careful of the full game money line occasionally with Cincinnati Reds. I've been on the wrong side of some Reds blow-ups, because again, in that ballpark, Great American Ballpark, the only spot that's better to hit in is Coors Field. So you could get a cheap grand slam that I have lost on multiple times. So Reds first 5 would be an angle. Strikeouts would certainly be an angle. Or if it's just a good matchup for the Reds that day, on the money line.
Yeah.
Right. And this is a guy who I'm not worried about pitching at Great American Ballpark because he doesn't have a home run problem. And the stuff is just outrageous. I think Exhibit A is a guy like Hunter Green. Right, Hunter Green has put up back-to-back seasons with an ERA under 3, even still pitching in that ballpark because the stuff is so out of this world. And Chase Burns might have better stuff. That's how good of an arm he has. So, again, Reds money line, but definitely Reds first 5, his strikeout totals, those are all something to target. And who knows? Maybe the Reds just let him go. Right? It's not set in stone that this innings limit is going to be here. It's just that's the early rumor. So I don't want to go grab some of these prices yet until I have a better idea of how long they plan for him to go this season.
Amazing. That's fantastic analysis. I have one more question for you, and then we're going to transition over to the rapid fire segment. That's going to provide our betting fans and future fans with something to chew on as we get closer and closer to opening day. But last question, we opened the show talking about, the Blue Jays magical run. You've mentioned multiple times throughout the show how big of a fan you are of the Pittsburgh Pirates. What teams have the potential breakout season that the Blue Jays had, if any, in your eyes?
So I wanted to look at teams for this question who are in the mid 70s when it comes to win totals for the season, right? I don't think it's fair to, for me to say, what I think a sneaky division winner could be is the Rangers, right? But the Rangers are at 83, 84 and a half wins, which is like 3 or 4 wins behind the Mariners. So that's not like a big breakout pick. And I hate to keep going back to it, but a team that I really like in the mid-70s is the Pittsburgh Pirates, because I look at their potential upside. I mean, when you have Paul Skeens at the top of your rotation, Tarek Skubal's better, end of list.
Yeah.
Then you have Jared Jones, who will be coming back from injury, and we've seen what he looks like in a smaller sample. And it's these small sample guys who pop off the TV. It's this high 90s fastball with plenty of carry at the top of the zone with a demon off-speed pitch. And again, it's hard to find that type of stuff, and he's coming back from injury. He'll be good. And Mitch Keller is kind of your run-of-the-mill, really solid pitcher who's always going to be in the low 4s when it comes to ERA. He's going to eat a ton of innings. And he's normally been the Pirates 1 or 2. I think he could be the Pirates 4 this year when you consider Bubba Chandler. And Bubba Chandler was a two-way guy who actually could have played quarterback. Came out of Clemson, and he decided to play baseball. And thankfully he did, because it's a live arm. I mean, it's a 100-mile-an-hour heater at the top. It's multiple breaking balls, and all he has to do is stay within the zone. He doesn't even have to command within the zone, right? The catcher could set up down the middle and say, throw your stuff and dare them to hit it. That's the level of stuff compared to Chase Burns, compared to Jared Jones. Like, you have 3 of those guys. There are only a handful of teams in Major League Baseball who can say the same. And all of them are projected division winners. Can the offense figure it out? Can Brian Reynolds be solid again? Can O'Neal Cruz take that next step? Can Connor Griffin help them this year? Can the complementary pieces like Brandon Lau continue to hit 30 home runs? Can Marcell Ozuna replicate what he did last year, which wasn't great, which was a down year for him? Can he be better in this role? Ryan O'Hearn was an all-star last year. Spencer Horowitz, who they didn't really have last year, who was in that trade, remember, for Luis Ortiz, who's currently we'll not talk about his legal issues right now, but that was the big bat that they brought in, and we loved the trade at the time. The problem is he just got hurt last year. What can you do, right? So you look at the weaknesses on this team, and I see Jared Triolo at third, not very good. I see Nick Gonzalez at short, not very good, and I see Joey Bart at catcher. But that's it.
Yeah.
I really like the addition in the bullpen they got with Mason Montgomery, who's an arm from the Rays, who is one of these guys, again, with just stupid stuff. But it's just been inconsistent and doesn't have a long track record yet. But if he can dial in, he could be one of the better left-handed relievers in baseball. Like, this team right now, I think could have a season like maybe the Reds did last year, where the Reds kind of snuck into the playoffs. The problem is the Reds met the Dodgers early on, and then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But if the Pirates can sneak in with that pitching, because in the postseason, if you have a front 3 of Skeens, Jones, Bubba, and then even Keller, you're going to be in a lot of games with that bullpen. And if they can hit a couple home runs and they load it up on guys who can do that, they can be a sneaky team. So I'm going to go with the Pirates there.
It reminds me a lot of the 2010 Giants World Series run, where they had Lincecum, Kane, didn't even necessarily have an elite number 3. Jonathan Sanchez really started to piece together. But I grew up a Giants fan, so I remember that deliberately. Had a lot of holes in the lineup, but great pitching can go a long way. So I love that take. I know where my first move is as I open up the win total market. Speaking of the win total market, do you want to give out your future that you released, or should we leave that for folks to jump in on this free trial and find it there?
I hate to do this, but I think I'm going to have to leave it for the people who try out the free trial. I've already released 3, which includes a 5-unit max. I normally have 1 5-unit max per season, but I haven't had them in all of them, right? Yeah. I don't force. I'm like, oh, well, this has to be my biggest future. I didn't have a 5-unit max last year in Major League Baseball. I did the year before. Do you remember the Marlins? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Took 5-unit Marlins under wins, and they started the season, I think, 0-11, and it hit in August. So running that back, 5-unit play, and I'm actually laddering. So I'm taking some alt lines. The biggest alt line is going to be plus 950, but that's where my projection is. So I'm hammering. And the only time I ever do it is when I see at least a 10-win gap between my projections and the bettable line. And there are plenty of reasons why I'm 10 wins off. And I also have 2 others, and then I'm going to be adding probably 4 or 5 more win totals. And then, of course, we'll have stat leaders markets. We'll have player prop futures. Probably going to be ending up sending 25 to 30 units of futures. And the reason I do that is when my ROI on futures is 15 to 20%, that's a market that I'm going to go after. And a lot of people don't want to put their money away for that long. Just a difference of opinion, right? Other cappers have 10 to 15 plays in a day, and they're, leveraging 10 to 15% of their bankroll on any given day. I'm leveraging 3 to 4% of my bankroll on a given day, but we have 25 units stashed away. I think of it as stocks.
Yep.
If you invest in a stock where if you were getting a 15% return, would you hold it for 6-7 months? I would. So that's what I do. So over the next probably week and a half, 2 weeks, you're going to get a ton of futures. And if history repeats itself, you're going to be happy at the end of the day.
I'm not going to give out the team. What I will say is, as soon as you released, I went to go bet it. It is since you released it at the number at minus 105 odds. It has since moved multiple win numbers away. There's still some great available lines out there, but it just shows your head was in the right place, and clearly the community came and poured in on it. So
yeah, that's what happens sometimes. It's, I deal with getting limited everywhere, especially in the MLB futures market. But, I figure out a way to get money down. And then, our Discord members where, we started it last year, we're approaching 1,000 members. They all go hammer it and lines move. And, what can you do? But it's a good sign, right? You want lines to move in your direction. CLV is really, really cool to make you feel good. But at the end of the day, you got to go beat it. You got to go win the bet. So, hopefully we're on the right track there.
Awesome. I want to transition to the rapid fire section. Like I said, you've given some incredible analysis on breakout stars, on breakout teams. This will be relatively quick hitters that folks can go and hunt down the odds on their own if they'd like. You can accompany these with as much description as you'd like, or just only say the outcome. But let's go ahead and start with the AL pennant. What are your thoughts on the AL pennant?
So right now, my win total projection, the highest in the American League, is the Seattle Mariners. You bring in Brendan Donovan. I think the trade for Jose A. Ferrer is going to be one that during the season we say, how did they get this demon lefty? 97-mile-an-hour sinker, great breaking ball. They traded a lot for him, but for good reason. And then you bring back Josh Naylor. So I think that their team is rounding into form with how good their rotation is. I'm going to take the Mariners to win the pennant.
Love it. Seeing it at plus 500 right now. Let's move over to the NL pennant.
Dodgers. I mean,
sorry.
Sorry.
I can't fault you there.
When my win total projection for them is 102 and the next best is 90, like I wish I had something cooler, but they're so much better than everybody else.
I can't disagree with you on that one. I'm seeing that at plus 130.
Yeah,
let's move over, which
honestly,
is just
probably value there.
Absurd. How about World Series? I assume there could be some overlap with the previous question here.
I'm going to take a leap and pick the Dodgers. I don't know what to tell you. They're just – you bring in Tucker and Diaz, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, that is, once again, no comment on that. I think you're spot on.
And I would love to be wrong because that means we got a different World Series champion than the Dodgers.
Yes.
I hope I am dead wrong on that one.
I am seeing Dodgers out there at plus 230. I want to move over to the MVP markets. What are your thoughts here?
MVP is going to be boring. Judge.
Okay. Judge, plus 225.
Sorry, guys. Again, if you want, we can find value. We can do sprinkles. Gun to my head, who's my pick? It's Aaron Judge. He's putting up 10-win seasons. Bobby Witt's great answer. Could definitely do it. He would have to have an out-of-body experience to do what Judge has been doing over the 3 of the last 4 years. It's Judge, and then Ohtani's going to pitch this year. There you go. You won MVP again.
I cannot believe that I am seeing this number on the board. Ohtani is a minus 125 favorite for MVP. That should tell you everything you need to know.
I went through my projections. I have him winning MVP 60% of the time. So that'd be minus 150 line.
Oh, my God.
I mean, Insane. It's just, is he going to get hurt? That's what you're betting against.
Yeah. Let's transition over to the Cy Young markets. Any thoughts here?
Yeah, I guess, again, it's kind of boring. Skubal in the AL. Sorry, folks. I don't know what you want me to do. This is as good of a pitcher that I've seen in my lifetime at the top of his game going into a contract year where he could secure $500 million. He's going for 3 straight. I think he gets it. In the NL, I'm going to go slightly off the beaten path. Christopher Sanchez was one of my breakout picks last year, and he was better than I even thought. I mean, he's got a combination of this 97-mile-an-hour sinker that he can throw wherever, whenever, to whatever side of the plate. And this changeup and his slider, his command within the zone is so underrated because it's one thing to throw strikes and it's another thing to hit your spot, right? And Christopher Sanchez is as good at hitting his spot as any. And he can strike out 10 per 9 while rocking a 60% ground ball rate. It's just really hard to get to him. So I think Christopher Sanchez is going to be a guy to throw 200 innings at a mid-2s ERA, and I think he could be better than Paul Skeens. So I'm going to go with Chris Sanchez as my National League Cy Young pick.
I love that. We can get that at 10-1 right now. Have some overlap in responses that you gave previously. Breakout player, O'Neal Cruz.
I'll give you another one.
Yeah, talk to me.
This is one that it's going to be hard for betting purposes, but for any fantasy players out there, or you could figure out a way to bet them. Grant Taylor of the Chicago White Sox. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
So I hammered the White Sox win total over last year, and it got there, thankfully, even though they still sucked. But that's the point of betting over 54.5 wins. It's like, it doesn't take that much to get there. And every single game, it's close. I'm like, get Grant Taylor in there. Please, Grant Taylor. Please, Grant Taylor. And he would shut the door. This is another guy in the White Sox system. He's 23 years old with stupid stuff. It's 100. It's an incredible breaking ball. And when you can throw strikes, it's kind of all you need in the bullpen. And this is a guy who I think the White Sox are going to make their closer. It's going to be tough for him to lead the league in saves because the White Sox aren't going to win that many games, but they're going to win a lot of close ones. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for him to see 30 to 35 saves next year. And who knows? Relievers, they could get hurt. Something could happen. Big long shot saves leader would be Grant Taylor. I think he's going to be a bullpen arm that at the end of the season, you're like, that was a top 10 season from a reliever. And nobody's ever heard of him.
I love that. While you're giving your next response, I am going to go ahead and see what odds are available on that play there.
Cool.
In terms of surprise team, you highlighted the Pirates. Win total right now sitting at 76.5. We're going over there. One thing that, your 5-unit bomb is an over on wins.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to give out one disappointment of a team, somebody to go under on their win total, where is your head at?
So I wanted to make this question harder for myself.
Challenge yourself.
Yeah, I just want to challenge myself. It's fun. I wanted to look at only division winners from last year. So I wanted to look at, all right, if you won your division, who do I think would be a disappointment this year? And I've been a big proponent of the Guardians over the recent years. We've bet them 6-1 to win the division. We bet them over win total. We've done well betting them in the playoffs. I was first on the scene to start betting Gavin Williams over strikeout props. Big fan of the Guardians. I've had both Tanner Bybee and Stephen Kwan, both of them on the same episode on our show. Cal Quantrill's my king, if we remember the home stretch, and that's what kind of jump-started just baseball. I bet every single Cal Quantrill home start, most of them at plus odds, and he went 15-0 at home back in 2022. It's the most electric run of my life. But this is a year where my projections do not like them at all. And a big reason why is I'm pretty low on their starting pitching relative to most seasons. I still like Tanner Bybee. I still like Gavin Williams. Then it kind of drops off for me. I'm not sure how good Joey Cantillo really is. Logan Allen, I think, is fine. Slade Giacone, I think, is going to pitch to a mid-4s ERA. I like the bullpen. The problem is bullpens go like this. We see them every year. In these short samples, you never know what's going to happen. I love Cade Smith. I love Hunter Gaddis. But after that, I like Dombrowski. There are still solid guys in there. I just don't have them as an elite bullpen like they were in previous seasons. Not a great starting rotation. And then the offense. I'm grasping for straws here. Obviously, we love Stephen Kwan. We love Jose Ramirez. But after that, it's like, who's the third best hitter on this team? Is it Kyle Manzardo? Is it Chase DeLauder? I mean, these guys just haven't proven a ton. They're not as good defensively as they've been in prior seasons. I just think this is a year where, they continually outperform. There's going to be a year where they don't, and I think it's in 2026. So that would be my disappointing team relative to expectations. I think they could finish 4th in their own division this year.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing win total at 79.5. I'm about to click the button on under after that breakdown. One thing that I did not give you on the prep list, but I'm curious on, any thoughts on Rookie of the Year in terms of open markets? This is the most, I guess, evenly distributed across the board, unlike Ohtani being a -125 favorite on the MVP front. So
Rookie of the Year is really, really tough. And, this is one of the great parts about the Just Baseball Discord is Aram, my co-founder, is basically king of the minor leagues. Like, I'm surprised he doesn't have a throne. He hosts the Call Up podcast. He puts out his top 100 prospects. Like, his whole world is prospects. So he's really good at predicting these Rookie of the Year. So normally this is an area of the futures market that I kind of give over to him and I say, what are your favorite picks? He hasn't really given out his picks yet, but I can kind of give you where we've talked about on the show. Carson Bench of the New York Mets. The Mets came out and they said, we want Juan Soto playing left field. And you're thinking they just gave him $765 million and you're telling him to switch positions? Yeah, because they have Carson Bench who's going to play right field. And Juan Soto even said in his press conference, I think it was 3 days ago, he said, we got a top prospect coming in to play right field. For him to say that, Dave Stearns, one of the smartest GMs in baseball, Juan Soto, who knows a thing or two about hitting.
Yeah.
They're starting to talk about Benj in that light. He's a guy who I would want to latch on to for Rookie of the Year. In the American League, it's so super wide open.
Yeah.
You got Tatsuya Imai, you got Munetaka Murakami, you got Kazuma Okamoto, the three best players coming over from the MPB. And that always makes the market weird because I'm like, I have guys who dominated in the MPB who are 25 to, Okamoto's 29 years old and he's a rookie, right? Yeah. So it kind of throws a wrench in things. But if I were to not pick between any of those guys, I'd probably go with Carter Jensen of the Royals. He's another guy in a small sample who's got stupid juice. We were there at the Futures game, and this guy was hitting home runs where Las Montes hits home runs. And if you know anything about Las Montes, he's potentially the next Yordan Alvarez sitting in the Mariners system. He's a DH who just hits moon booms. Carter Jensen's like a 6-foot catcher doing the same thing. He's got stupid pop. He's a guy I think could hit 30 home runs next year for the Royals. So he'd be a guy who I'd want to look at for American League Rookie of the Year. So Benj in the NL, Carter Jensen in the AL.
I love that. Benj at 22-1 and Jensen at 6-1. Last question, and I'll let
Jensen 6-1 already.
He's all the way down to 6-1.
He opened at 15-1.
Oh, geez. So,
yeah, so that's
sharp money poured in there.
Yeah.
Last question, a fun one. Are there any kind of like mega long shots that you like? You have a part of a 5-unit play on a 10-1 play. So that's a pretty fun one. Once again, go subscribe to the 3-day free trial to get the peek behind the curtain on that. But are there any other kind of moonshots that you've been playing around with?
It's also important to note with the 3-day free trial, in the next 3 days, I'm going to be sending more MLB futures. So you're already going to get the 5-unit play, a couple of 2.5-unit plays, and then you're going to get even more during this 3-day free trial. And again, we're proud of the retention. I think you're going to see it's an all-encompassing baseball community and chock full of, you can ask any question to anybody. And there's diehard baseball fans in there as well. So it's not even just our staff, it's everybody. So you get your questions answered. You're going to get tons of MLB futures, and you're going to get a full slate of college baseball. And of course, I think we're a really affordable rate at just $10. So again, I wanted to challenge myself for this. 25-1 or more. Why not? Let's go for some big long shots.
Let's do it.
So one that I like that's 25-1, or at least it was the last time I looked, is Victor Scott to lead Major League Baseball in stolen bases. He's a center fielder for the Cardinals, and the best part of his game is speed and defense. Can't hit. That's his issue. But the Cardinals are in a rebuilding phase in a way where they've stripped down a lot of these veterans, and they want to let the young guys play. And Victor Scott is one of those young guys. He's 24 years old, and he could have a long big league career just on his speed and defense. That's how good he is defensively in center field. That's how good of a base runner he is. And if he's even below average offensively, he could steal 50 bases. Last year, he stole 34 in 38 or 138 games. He put up a 76 WRC plus. He was barely on base and stole 34 bases. If he takes even a moderate step offensively, he could steal 50. So at 25-1, I think those odds are off. The reason they're off, he kind of stunk offensively last year. So it's a bet, right? It's, can he take a leap offensively? That's why you're getting 25-1. And I think he can. So I think it's a good wager to look at. A super long shot though, 100-1. Actually, I think it might be 150-1 at some spots. Joe Adell to lead baseball in homers.
Wow.
The sneakiest 37 home run season in Major League Baseball last year from Joe Adell at 25 years old. And Joe Adell has always had just unbelievable pop. And the thing is about his season last year, it's not just, oh, he finished 9th in home runs and he's 100-1. Let's bet him on a long shot. No, there's so much more in the tank. He's not pulling fly balls at the rates that the league leaders in home runs hit, and yet he still hit 37 home runs. His expected slugging percentage was .549. Do you know what he slugged? .485. There's so much more room in the bat. The problem is he strikes out a ton. He's terrible defensively. But the guy has crazy power. 100-1 for a guy with that much power. Is he going to do it? Probably not. It's probably going to be Judge. Probably going to be Cal Raleigh. It's probably going to be somebody like that. Ohtani, definitely. But for a guy who I think can legitimately finish top 5, even though he's like 28th in odds, why is he 28th in odds? Nobody gives a shit about him. He's on the Angels. He's not a guy a lot of people know, but Joe Adell can hit 45 home runs in a given season, and that could lead baseball.
If you would have asked me how many he hit last year, I would have said 25. You're telling me he hit 37 pumps last year?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Other ways to target this.
Way more. Like, there's so much more power to unlock with him, and he's still young. He's 26.
I love that. And even if you definitely throw a sprinkle on that 150-1. There are other ways to target it. I'm seeing markets of 35 plus, 40 plus, 45 plus, 50 plus. At 50 plus, you could get him at 15-1 right now.
If he hits 50 plus, everybody listening to the show has to join the Discord.
Yes, dude.
If he hits 50 or more home runs, we should make a spit shake deal. I'm actually watching. I'm binging Peaky Blinders when I need to step off from my laptop after doing projections all day. The spit shake. All right, everybody listening, if Joe Adell, actually we'll make it even better. If Joe Adell hits 55 home runs, everybody listening has to join the Discord.
I am going to be blasting this clip out across socials the day that happens. But Peter, you're a busy man. I've taken enough of your time. I really appreciate you making the appearance. Once again, everybody go check Peter out on socials. Join the Just Baseball community. Like I said, it's one of the most profitable. They have one of the highest retention rates on the platform. It's very, very clear that they are doing awesome things in there. So we're going to blast this out. We're going to include the 3-day free trial. Jump in, stick around all season long. And 1, you're going to have a ton of fun. And 2, you're going to make a lot of money. So thanks, Peter.
Thank you for having me.